Hey, what's up, guys? This video I'm going to explain how to put weight on a particular lift that you're looking to focus on. Right now, I'm focusing on bench press, and why should you listen to me? Because I'm actually stacking weight on consecutively week after week after week on my bench press. I see the results in this. So I do training blocks. So this particular training block aligns with my blast cycle. So, okay, just to start off, steroids are playing a part of this, okay, obviously. But there's other things that play a part of it too, which in this training block, which is my diet, which is I really don't care so much about counting calories as much as I normally would. You know what I mean? Normally I like to keep my weight kind of in check. In this training block, I'm not really concerned about that. Even though it's leading towards the summer, and eventually, probably in 2 months, a month or two I will. But here's the thing. Calorie intake, good. Steroid intake, good. Both in a level of slight excess. Not like overly excess, but slight excess, okay? So you have to match that excess with training excess. That's the key. I know it's common sense, but imagine a stool with 3 legs. If one of the legs was shorter than the other 2 legs, the stool is going to fall over and you won't be able to sit on it. You stand on it, you'd fall hell over. So everything needs to be balanced. There's a balance, and when you want to go into excess like on your lift, everything has to be proportionately increased as well. So I'll start off with that, which is very important. But here, I'll get right to the methodology on how I'm lifting, okay? So before I even get into, because this is a push exercise, I'll start with that you need to get your pull exercises down on the days that you're not pushing. You need to work a strong back base before you get the strong push. I'm talking about bench press, but this goes with other lifts as well. You got to work the corresponding lift, the opposite lift to what you're doing. Like you just have to be well-rounded, okay? So like on a deadlift, it's a primary leg workout, but you got to work back as well. You got to get your back days down as well, and your arm days as well, to be able to hold the bar on a good deadlift. Like, you could have the strongest legs possible. If you don't have traps and arms, your deadlift's going to be shit. You could have like a good developed triceps, but if you don't have a strong back, it's gonna affect the amount of weight you're going to be able to push in the long run. So being well-rounded is key. I'm going to start with that. It's not normally something that somebody would say, okay? And I think it is key. So, but here's the thing. I'm going to be focusing on my bench press, because that's what I am doing at this moment. And what the key to me, because I'm a massage therapist, one of the rule of thumbs really of massage therapy is proximal to distal. So you start with proximal being closer to the midline of your body, so you're like torso, and then you work outwards, okay? So your trunk get strengthened for a particular lift before your extremities do, and that goes for the training block that you're working on, but that also goes for the specific gym day you're working on. So you start with trunk dominated exercises first. This is what I always do before you gradually into your extremities. So that's an important thing. So with something like bench press, why don't I just make this video about bench press? I guess that's what I'm focusing on. Starting with trunk dominated exercise would be things like pec press or the bench press in itself, right? Now, there's going to be certain days where you're going to do more strength training, and then you're going to do more volume. Like if every day you're just like going like above 80% your max, you might likely run into some injury, or just like fatigue, or not able to the progress isn't going to be there. So you have to do staggered days. This is what I recommend. There's going to be a strength day for whatever workout you're doing. So again, bench press is what my example. So a strength bench press day where you do something like a 5x5 method. And then your volume day, which is going to be your next day, is going to be like maybe closed grip bench press for reps. It might be pec press for reps, shoulder press for reps, that type of thing. And then you come back to your strength day, there's going to be less reps, less sets. It's just getting right down to business and pushing hard, because that's training something else. That's training your central nervous system and recruiting different muscle fibers. That's going to be key in how much you're going to be able to push in the end. So that's a very important. I think that's going to be like the crux of my message there, as far as things go. I'll state another few things, but when it comes down to how you're going to progress, is going to be a staggered approach. Now, the other thing that I'm going to mention is that you're going to do like a 2 steps forward and 1 step back approach. So it's going to be like for 2 weeks, you might go kind of more hardcore progressive overloading. So that's this 2 steps forward. We're going to progressively overload, because in that progressive overload, which is adding more weight or adding more reps, you're going to gain. You're going to make gains, all types of gains, strength, size, etc. Now, there might 2 weeks forward, 1 week back, where don't worry about the progressive overload. Take a week back from the progressive overload, where again, it might be about volume, but it's just about pulling back a little bit on the weight that you're pushing. Doesn't need to be, you don't need to be going excessive weight week after week after week. Pull a little bit back and then come back with then even stronger. So the curve is going to be like this, a little bit back, this, a little bit back, this, a little bit back. Okay? So it's non-linear. Because I think a lot of guys people in general have a linear mindset where they just want to go like this. Right? Things don't always work like that. Like the stock market and things go up and down and up and down and up and down, but eventually up. Okay? And there needs to be like a breath involved in that, like a push-pull. It's literally a push-pull that's happening. And the same has to be done for whatever training block, which might be 3 or 4 months on a particular lift, or even longer. And that's where the gains are going to happen, because every time you go, you pull back, and then you come back, it's going to be even more, because you're going to have the fatigue, and it's not about that. It's you're building strength in the process, and doing more. Maybe when you pull back, it's less about going towards your max and more about reps. So let me talk about that. There is, so for example, with bench press, one of the major muscle groups that you're going to be working is your like triceps, major muscle. So you're going to have to, when on the pull back time period, you might just focus pure on triceps, as opposed to doing the actual like movement that you're training on, right? So 2 weeks doing the muscle group that you're training, or the actual exercise you're training, and then when we come back, train the accessory movement more, train the isolated movement more, without actually the movement that you're focusing on. So I've been focusing on bench press. On something like deadlift, you go something like 2 weeks on training deadlifts, right? And with staggered approach, where 1 week you do straight 5x5 with deadlifts, and then or one exercise you do 5x5. The next time later in the week, like Monday you do that, Thursday you come back and you do maybe more Romanian deadlifts and more leg extension, leg curls, and then the next week Monday you come back to actually doing the 5x5. So that's the staggered approach. You do that for 2 weeks, and after that 2 weeks, then you might throw something else in there that's going to help with the deadlifts, which might be more back dominant, okay? Because back's involved in that as well. So in this staggered approach, I'll call it, you'll get more well-rounded in the end. But you're not like spreading things too thin. You're still focused because you're still doing 2 weeks on the primary movement that you're focusing on. If you do what I'm telling you in this video, I think, you will make serious gains without having the risk of potentially snapping some shit up or injuring yourself, which in this personal training block I actually did do. I've strained muscle in my arm twice training bench press. So, but I worked through it. I pulled back again. That's why it's about going forward. Okay, hit muscle strain, pull back, did more volume, worked other things, and then the next week come back to things. Okay, so in the end, you can still make serious progress on this method that I'm explaining on how to grow. And again, food intake good, steroid if you choose to do steroids, intake good. Picking the right compounds, the right stack. If you don't like steroids, fine, but this might not be the channel for you, because it's pretty much what I talk about in 80% of my videos. And then getting your training on point, food on point, steroids on point, training on point, done. There's no reason within 3 months that you can't put tens of pounds on your lift. I'll leave it there, guys. What are your thoughts on this? Leave in the comments section below. Some of you guys might be more experienced strength training than I am, so I'd love to hear your advice. But I think what I'm saying is pretty damn sound. So love to hear you guys' feedback. Thanks for watching. Peace.